Trump says Ukraine cannot win without offense, but the Pentagon holds the permits. A secret review mechanism now blocks Kyiv from firing US-made long-range missiles into Russia, even as Ukraine's own drones set fire to the Kursk nuclear plant. Washington promises weapons, but with strings. Offensive power is dangled, denied, delayed. Can Ukraine fight back when its strongest blows depend on approval from Washington? The Pentagon has quietly put in place a mechanism that blocks Ukraine from using US-supplied long-range missiles to strike targets inside Russia. According to an exclusive report by the Wall Street Journal, this restriction has been active for several months, effectively reversing a policy established by former President Joe Biden during his final year in office. The Defense Department established what officials call a review mechanism that requires high-level approval before Ukraine can fire any US-made Army tactical missile systems, known as ATACMS, against Russian targets. These missiles have a range of nearly 190 miles and represent some of Ukraine's most powerful weapons in the conflict. Elbridge Colby, the Pentagon's Undersecretary for Policy, developed this approval process, which gives Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth final authority over whether Ukraine can employ these long-range weapons. The review mechanism also applies to European-provided weapons like Britain's Storm Shadow cruise missile, since these systems rely on American intelligence and components. According to US officials cited in the journal's report, Ukraine has already been denied permission to use ATACMS against at least one Russian target since the restrictions were put in place in late spring. This approval requirement has effectively limited Ukraine's military operations, while the White House seeks to encourage Moscow to enter peace negotiations. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed the policy in a statement.
President Trump has been very clear that the war in Ukraine needs to end. There has been no change in military posture in the Russia-Ukraine conflict at this time. Secretary Hegseth is working in lockstep with President Trump.
However, this restrictive approach appears to contradict recent statements made by President Trump himself. In a social media post on August 21st, Trump argued that Ukraine cannot defeat Russia without being able to take offensive action.
It is very hard, if not impossible, to win a war without attacking an invader's country. It's like a great team in sports that has a fantastic defense but is not allowed to play offense. There is no chance of winning. It is like that with Ukraine and Russia. Crooked and grossly incompetent Joe Biden would not let Ukraine fight back, only defend. How did that work out?
US officials were quick to clarify that Trump's statement did not signal any immediate policy change that would eliminate the Pentagon's review mechanism. A senior White House official suggested that Trump could still change his position regarding expanded offensive operations against Russia. This marks a significant shift from Trump's earlier position as president-elect, when he criticized Biden's decision to allow Ukrainian strikes inside Russia. In a December interview with Time magazine, Trump called the policy stupid, saying,
"We're just escalating this war and making it worse."
The restrictions come despite Trump's previous commitment to provide Ukraine with new weapons, contingent on European nations covering the costs. The administration has approved an $850 million arms package this past week, which includes 3,350 extended-range attack munition air-launched missiles set to arrive in Ukraine within 6 weeks. However, several US officials confirmed that use of these ERAM missiles, with their 150 to 280-mile range, would also require Pentagon approval. The Biden administration had provided hundreds of ATACMS to Ukraine starting in 2023, with restrictions on striking Russian territory lifted in the fall of 2024 after North Korean troops joined the conflict. Ukraine currently maintains a small supply of these missiles, according to US officials. The debate over long-range weapons takes on new urgency following recent Ukrainian drone operations deep inside Russian territory. On August 24th, a Ukrainian drone attack struck the Kursk nuclear power plant, causing a fire and reducing operational capacity at one of the facility's units, according to Reuters reporting. The plant's press service reported that Russian air defense systems shot down the Ukrainian combat drone near the facility, but upon impact, the device detonated and damaged an auxiliary transformer.
Upon impact, the drone detonated, resulting in damage to an auxiliary transformer.
The attack forced Unit 3 of the plant to reduce its capacity to 50% and sparked a fire that was subsequently extinguished. Plant officials confirmed there were no injuries from the incident, and radiation levels at the site and surrounding areas remained within normal limits. Russian state television network REN TV reported that the damaged transformer was not part of the nuclear section of the plant. The Kursk incident occurred alongside broader Ukrainian drone operations targeting the Moscow region. On August 23rd, Russian air defenses intercepted a drone heading toward Moscow, with Mayor Sergei Sobyanin confirming that specialists were examining fragments on the ground. The drone activity forced significant disruptions to Russian aviation, with several airports in central Russia suspending operations due to airspace safety concerns. Russia's air transport agency Rosaviatsia announced suspended operations at airports in Izhevsk, Nizhny Novgorod, Samara, Penza, Tambov and Ulyanovsk, all located east and southeast of Moscow. Officials at St. Petersburg Airport reported dozens of delayed flights. Russia's defense ministry reported intercepting and destroying 32 drones over a 3-hour period across multiple areas in central Russia, indicating the scale of Ukrainian operations. These drone strikes represent Ukraine's continued development of indigenous long-range capabilities as the country works around Western restrictions on provided weapons. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently announced that his country is developing a new cruise missile called the Flamingo, which could be produced in significant quantities by the end of this year or early next year. Ukraine has consistently stated that its strikes inside Russia are defensive responses to continued Russian attacks on Ukrainian territory, aimed at destroying infrastructure crucial to Moscow's military operations. The attacks demonstrate Ukraine's ability to project power deep into Russian territory, even as debates continue in Washington about providing additional long-range weapons systems. The contrast between Trump's public statements supporting offensive operations and his administration's actual policy restrictions highlights the complex calculations involved in managing the conflict while attempting to encourage peace negotiations.